I'm talking to Michael Blake, who's the head of Centuria Life, about a product called Life Goals. Mike, what is Life Goals?
So Centuria Life Goals is a new product that we've put out in the last 12 months, which is a new approach to a traditional product known as an investment bond. Investment bonds have been around for many, many years, and they've been offered by life companies and friendly societies. And we've just recently put this product in the market as a new twist on the old product. We went out and spoke to the market and said, what is it about the older products you didn't like? And some of the feedback we got was, we want to see a better range of investment options. So we've done that with the new product, where the Centuria Life Investment Committee has gone out and deliberately sought to find a best of breed investment managers in each asset class for people to choose from. The second thing people were looking for was more clarity around the fees. The traditional product had fees that were hidden away, and with this product, we've made it very clear and very concise disclosure. And probably the third thing is the education around how these products are used. So if you go to the website at Centuria Life Goals, there's a number of case studies that we've put in there of examples of how the investment will suit different people and solve different problems.
Okay, so in a sense, you summarise, I could do it, but you should summarise the main things that someone who's never heard of an investment bond before, or Life Goals, what is the main crux of the product? Okay,
so essentially it's the tax-paid nature of the product. If you're an investor today and you're investing on your marginal tax rate, you're going to be paying, if you're over $90,000, you're going to be paying tax at 37%. If you're over $180,000, you're going to be paying tax at 47%. Within the investment bond product, you pay tax at 30% on your earnings.
Like a company.
Like a company. So obviously the less tax you're giving to the tax man, the more you're reinvesting, and over the longer term, the greater your returns.
But you have to stock the money away for 10 years.
Yes, you do. With the way it works with the investment bond, your money is always accessible to you.
You can get it out.
You can always get it out, and that's one of the big benefits over superannuation, where your money's locked away. With the investment bond, you're taxed at 30%, and if you pull your money out in the first 10 years, you just pay the difference between that and your marginal tax rate. So if your marginal tax rate's 47%...
You just give up that little benefit of your tax rate minus 30%, that's the benefit you're saving, you pay it.
Exactly. So you're no worse off than investing directly in your own name, but the benefit is, as you said, once you've been there 10 years, you can withdraw your money and you're paying no additional tax. So effectively you're paying 30% tax all the way through.
Now, old investment bonds or insurance bonds, people didn't really know how the money was being invested. You guys allow people to select certain types of investment and certain types of potential returns.
Exactly. So the Centuria Life Investment Committee has sat down and put together a menu of investment options across multiple asset classes. So we have cash, fixed interest, we have Australian shares, international shares, we have balanced and growth options.
All different rates of return, all different levels of risk.
That's right. And then when you go into those different asset classes, you can choose from your investment manager. So if you go into Australian shares, for example, you can invest in Bennelong, who's been one of the best performing Australian managers over the last 10 years. You can go into Firetrail, you can go into Allianz Bernstein. And also in each asset class, we've got a Vanguard index option. So if you're a bit fee conscious or you don't think the managers can actually beat the index, you can go into a low cost Vanguard option and get the index returns across the full range of asset classes.
Okay, let's talk about what happens after the 10-year period and the money's still there, still rolling over. You can get your hands on it, or can you keep letting it roll on?
Yeah, you can keep rolling the investment as long as you like. There's no term. In fact, there is a 40-year maximum term, but if you hit the 40-year term, we automatically roll it over for another year if you don't advise us. So you can invest in these things in perpetuity, and as I said, after the 10 years, you've got your tax-paid nature, and along the way, you can also switch investment classes and asset options as well.
So if you're scared about the stock market, you go from a share-oriented one to maybe a cash or bond.
Exactly. And it's actually a feature that people don't really realise. If I'm investing in a managed fund in, say, an Australian share option, and I might have a fabulous year, I might make 30% return, and I think, wow, I want to take a bit of profit now. When you sell down some of that investment, you're going to be paying a capital gains tax on it. Once you've invested in the Centuria Life Goals structure and you've got your 22 different investment options, you can switch with nil CGT between any of the investment options. So, for example, we actually have a beta shares geared fund in there, which if all odds goes up 1%, it goes up 2%. So if you're feeling particularly optimistic about the share market, you might put some money into that investment option. It has a big run. You want to take some profits, you can go across to a normal share fund, a balanced fund, or a cash fund. So it's a great tool to be able to manage your risk profile as you go through your investment years.
And we should throw in, if the market goes down 1%, if it falls by 2%,
exactly.
it goes both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, the people, who do you think would definitely get a lot of value out of this?
Yeah, essentially we say this product's good for you through your whole life cycle, because whether you're a saver in your 20s or 30s and you're saving for a house, or whether you're a bit older and you want to save for your children's education, or maybe a bit older you want to save for retirement, you can really use the product throughout those different cycles. But essentially where we're seeing the most interest is in two areas, and one is with superannuation. And superannuation, investment bonds went off into the wilderness there for about 10 or 15 years and got forgotten about. And one of the reasons was the flexibility that was introduced to superannuation.
Super was good.
It was great. If you look at the late 80s, early 90s, when the Keating and the Labor government brought in the compulsory super, they also brought in the rollover, so you could move your superannuation around. Before that, your superannuation really stayed where it was invested for your whole life. But then we had self-managed super funds, then they brought in transition to retirement where you could access your money at 55. And at one stage, they were encouraging people to put in $1 million before 30th of June. Nowadays, of course, we've seen big changes. And in mid-2017, the government put in caps on contributions. They put caps on fund balances. You now can't access your superannuation until you're permanent retired at 60 or 65 years old if you're still working. So they made super go very flexible, and then they made it less flexible. And what people are now looking for is alternatives to superannuation. And superannuation is fabulous because you're taxed at 15%. But if you can't put any more into it, then the investment bond at 30% is your next best option to investing at your marginal tax rate.
Okay, so people who've got money that is over the cap, some people are looking at investment bonds as an alternative.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing some big slabs of money come in there. We also find people who've maybe been working overseas for a number of years and they come back to Australia and they might have $2 or $3 million to invest if they've done well offshore. They can't just go and put that big lump of money into superannuation. So where do they invest that money? Something like Life Goals is very attractive. We also have people who might inherit money. You might be 45 years old, travelling along quite well. You inherit a lump sum of money. What are you going to do with it? You can't put it into superannuation again. You don't want to invest it and pay it 47%. So the investment bond is very attractive as that lump sum of money. So as alternatives to superannuation, whether it's having a supplementing superannuation or if you've capped out on your superannuation, using it as an alternative.
Okay, now you've also found, say, some grandparents who want to put money aside for their grandchildren. The investment bond works well for them too.
Yeah, it's interesting with the investment bond because it's actually it's an insurance policy and you can nominate a beneficiary. Now the great thing about nominating a beneficiary to your investment is in the event of your passing, the money goes straight to the beneficiary. It doesn't go through the estate. So quite often grandparents or parents will use these things as a planning tool to make sure that in the event of their passing, the money will go to whom it is intended. We're seeing more and more often in Australia today that things are very litigious and people often have complicated families. Over half of people get divorced in Australia today. And the bad news is if you've been married the second time, it goes to 70%. So when you've got very complicated families, estate planning can be very complicated and you want to avoid going through the courts and having these things challenged. So you simply take out an investment in your name, you nominate a beneficiary, be it your child or anyone you wish to leave the money to, and the money will go directly to them outside of the will. The other thing we've just recently introduced is a thing called a child plan, which is a separate feature. And with a child plan, it's actually an old endowment policy they're based off. And you can nominate a vesting age for the child. So you might have a grandchild who's 5 years of age. If you pass away next year, then clearly you don't want your child getting the money when they're 6. So you can nominate an age between 16 and 25 at which the money will go to them. So you might have 3 grandchildren. You will take out a child plan for each one of those children. You'll nominate that when they turn 18, they receive the money. And that way it will go as you're intended. Now, if you were to pass away, your executor will look after that money until the child hits that age, and it'll be assured that the money goes through to them. So that's quite a popular tool, and we quite often get grandparents taking out half a dozen investment bonds in different children's names.
Okay, if people want to know more, Blakey, where do they go?
Yeah, Centuria Life Goals website is a good place to go. You can get our contact number on there and give us a call, and also you can go on there and look at a number of these different scenarios that we've identified for different pages, people at different stages of life. We're also introducing a calculator shortly, which will be available in the next couple of weeks, and you'll be able to go in there, put in your earnings, put in your investment option, whether it's balanced or growth or Australian shares. It'll just do some forecasting based on some average historical returns to give you a bit of an idea of how much you can save over what period of time.
Okay, that's Michael Blake from Centuria talking about life goals.